I had a thought on these boots, and even though they're kind of, I guess, I'm going into it assuming they're not the best quality. I wanted to give them a go and kind of bring I guess, some context to something I was thinking about more. I guess more this last holiday season, but I started thinking about it, a year ago, based off some experiences I've had with this company, going back more than a decade. Well, several decades. I mean, shoot, going back to, I guess, my teenage, middle school type age. But this is the modern, Eddie Bauer, who they are now, and that's kind of what this is about. They're not what they used to be. This is their interpretation of a kind of a legacy boot they used to make called the K-6, and they had it on, well, like a 50% off sale after Christmas. Honestly, I would say the normal price of $220 is a complete rip-off. These are not $220 boots, but at $110, and then they had a coupon that took it down just about to $100. I could make it, I could justify it, especially to feel them out and see how crappy they are or not, or good they are if they were good, and then kind of bring it back to this topic I've been thinking about. But unfortunately, and I don't know if this happened when they were shipping it, and I could see this happening considering my experiences with Eddie Bauer lately, but it could have also happened with the USPS because they're literally the worst shipping carrier there ever is. But this box is completely crushed. The shipping container, the shipping box, I should say, looks like someone stepped on it or something. It literally punctured through and ripped through the label. That's why I'm not going to put it on the camera to show where I live. But it smashed through. It smashed through. There's no padding inside the box. It's a much bigger shipping box than this. And then whatever stepped on it or whatever crushed through. And then I'm like, this is possibly going to damage the boots. And I opened it up and see torn paper. And I knew what was going to happen, and sure enough, both boots are damaged. This boot has a real nasty gash right there. That ain't coming out. That's, I mean, I guess you could argue, like, if you kick something, you're going to end up with dents, but, brand new, I don't want to deal with that. And then the other boot is worse. This boot has a real nasty. It's not quite punctured, but that's a pretty deep gash. And it looks like it kind of tore it up there a little bit, maybe even the sole, but that's pretty ugly. So, unfortunately, part of this idea is shot, where I was going to have these boots and wear these boots and kind of talk about this idea I had. Put this smashed box back here. Because I contacted them and they don't have them in stock anymore because they're clearing them out. And I'm not going to go get a replacement, so it's just my money back. It doesn't, I mean, they don't look too bad, to be honest. They're maybe a little bit bigger. I'm not even bothered to try them on because it's just like, doesn't matter. They're going back. Well, here's a shipping label, which was actually kind of nice when I did feedback, and they're quick to contact me via email and give me a shipping label, and I'll ship them back. But it's just disappointing because it's like, well, I wanted these boots for a purpose. Sizing was weird. Their site, said true to size, and then I did the thing where you put in other shoes and sneakers you own, and it said I should get a 12. It's probably right. Again, I haven't put them on, but I noticed they have an insole, which is weird because some pictures didn't show that. They showed kind of people stepping straight on the bottom, so I wonder if some people got them secondhand without the insoles or something, but they have a foam Eddie Bauer branded insole. The website pictures show not a totally different boot, a noticeably different boot that has a different looking welt, if this even is a welt. I question if this really is a welt. I wonder if it's a fake welt and they've just glued everything. It's a cement construction. I could see that at this price point. But the one on the site pictures says Eddie Bauer here. This doesn't even have that. It has a different, newer logo. I guess since they got bought out or whatever. Slightly different logo. It's not the classic logo of like yesteryear where it's kind of like Eddie Bauer, almost like cursive-ish. This is just kind of like this box. You see the logo on the box right here? It just looks like that on the tongue. It does look like the whole mountaineering gusseted tongue thing, but again, I'm not going to even bother, unlacing them and trying them on. It just, I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind about that before I return them, but there's no way, I'm not keeping them. So the one thing that's interesting is there is a little bit of stitching through the toe. So like, I guess to reinforce the toe so it doesn't peel back. You can see they did a tiny little strip, which makes the front stitching look a little silly, but it's 2 different stitches, so I can let that go. Otherwise, it's kind of expected. There is kind of a spot where you can see where they finished the stitch there on this so-called welt, and it is joined, but it could just easily be a fake welt, and they had to just stitch that together. I don't know. This makes me wonder if maybe it is actually a welted boot, where this is the welt and it's stitched to this green rubber midsole, because this leather you see here is just a welt. I don't know though. I feel like it's so thin here. I think you'd see a line or some type of. If that makes sense what I'm saying. I feel like if this stitching was through the green midsole, this like pretend this is a true Goodyear welt stitch to hold the outsole on, you'd probably see something right there, like a line where you'd see the bottom of the stitches pushing through the rubber slightly. It's smooth. I don't know. I kind of think they're not truly Goodyear welt. Look at the sight again. I mean, otherwise, they just kind of look like a pretty basic, cheap boot. This leather doesn't feel good, but it doesn't feel awful. It's definitely really thin, and then there's this synthetics and stuff on the inside. I don't think this is going to patina nice per se. It probably just gets kind of beaten up. But I think it's really indicative what would happen with Eddie Bauer and what I was kind of going for. So, I guess I'm going to start this here. This video is definitely going to be put together in pieces. But I think this used to be a brand very similar to a brand like LL Bean. And keep in mind, I'm a West Coast guy, so like I don't have necessarily that history with some of these brands. I guess Eddie Bauer, if I remember correctly, was originally from like Seattle, so I guess that is West Coast. But LL Bean is obviously from Maine, not my region at all. But as I became an adult and started caring more about some of my clothes, I found, some of these better kind of old school brands make a much nicer product than the stuff you're getting at typical department stores and stuff. To the point that I started buying LL Bean stuff I don't know. I think the first thing I got from them was probably over a decade ago. Jacket is probably like 15 years ago. It was for my wife. And then I got those Katahdin boots you've seen a video on. That was about 12, 13, no, it's like 13, 14 years ago. It was for my and then more recently, I kind of pick up a few things here and there, usually in the winter time when they have sales. But I saw this book on their site. I ended up buying it on Amazon because Amazon had it a better price, or maybe the price was almost the same. I think it was like $1 less, but Amazon could get it to me like the same week, whereas for some reason on LL Bean's site, they had this long shipping delay on that book. So I ended up getting it there. Flipped through a few pages, read the intro and a couple pages, but I'm going to continue going through that. Basically, it's like I feel like, and I will talk about this more with some other material to show you. I think Eddie Bauer used to be on the same league as LL Bean, and they are clearly not even close. And my experience with them in the last 2 years, each holiday season is really indicative of how far they've fallen. And I know they were bought out by, Authentic Brands, one of these investment group things, and I think they've just turned the company into garbage. And it's very sad, very disappointing. You look at the old catalogs, and I'm going to actually show you guys that here, and it was a totally different game. It was a true outfitter. Like I would say LL Bean is still sort of sticking to that. It's fallen a bit, but it was an outfitter who made or sold legitimate products, not necessarily their own house brand stuff. And they made a K-6 boot, and it was probably a legit boot, like a Danner today or better, made in USA, and something you could literally go mountaineering, mountain climbing in, hiking, going through on treks through the wilderness, and it would serve you well. Whereas this is sort of a fashiony. I was thinking I could, it would be good, good enough for a dog walk down the off-road path that I take, but clearly it wasn't meant to be, I guess, and it had to get destroyed, and they don't have it in stock, so I can't exchange it. So it's just going to go back, and that's the end of that story. But the story I'm going to tell you will continue. I may have to do a few videos just to keep people kind of, I guess, interested in this topic, but we'll see where we go with that.